Okay, so I am back and let's continue this. Now, whenever I'm doing a code for any game or any product in general, I always start off with first, what do I need the code to do? And then second, how can I make it visually appealing? Now, the first part of what I need the code to do, I already have got that done for this one. I need the code to recognize player inputs on the keyboard. That works. That's great. So now I can work on the visuals for this. But before I do, I want to show you something that's pretty interesting. So the way the code works is I have my event tick, which happens every single frame that the game's running. And each frame is checking to see if this is true. If it is, it says hello. And right now I have this trigger volume, or trigger sphere, and I'll actually show you what it looks like in game. As soon as I can find renderer. Here we go. Hidden in game. Let's not make it hidden in game. So I will show you something. So this is my trigger volume. When I'm inside the trigger volume, I press 1. It says hello. When I'm outside the trigger volume and press 1, it will still say hello. Why is that? Well, it's simple. It's saying that because I have an event tick that happens every frame, and I know I need the event tick to happen. And in fact, let me show you what happens if I have it only do it when inside the sphere. Because this technically does work as well. So I'm going to click on the sphere. I'm going to right click and I'm going to do add event on begin overlap. And so I can easily do this and break this link. Let's see what happens when I do that. So now it's not saying anything, but when I'm inside it's not saying anything either. And that is because even though I'm inside of the trigger volume, this is really only happening once. So it fires once and then it doesn't fire again. It says, hey, I'm inside the trigger volume. That's cool. I don't need to do anything else after that. So what you do is you always need to connect this to event tick. This just checks every frame if it's working. But one thing you want to do is you want to make it, if you want to make it so that it only activates when you're inside the trigger volume, what you can do is you can create a boolean. And a boolean is basically an on and off switch. And what I do with this boolean is I say, hey, can I start? Let's see if I can start. So what happens is, what I'm going to do is when I step inside the trigger volume, I'm going to go here. I'm going to set the can start to be true. Like this. And so what it'll do is we'll do an event tick. And the first thing we'll do is we're going to check. So we need to get a branch, and we will check to see if this is true. If that's true, then we're going to start checking for the player input and then see if the one key is pressed. If that happened, it's going to print hello. So right now I press 1 and it works. Haha, interesting. On component begin overlap. I think it's because, yep, I start inside of the sphere. Let's move myself a little bit further away from the sphere, just to make sure. So, yep, it's because I started inside the sphere. So when I press 1 now, it doesn't work. But when I go inside the sphere, it works. But you'll also see, just like how we saw before, even when I'm outside the sphere, it'll still work. Why is that? Now, the reason why that is, I'm sure most of you can figure this out, but the reason why that is because, hey, this code is saying, hey, when I begin overlapping with the sphere, can start is set to true. But when I'm not overlapping with the sphere, can start is still set to true because I didn't set it to do anything when I end my overlap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to type in end overlap, and when I end my overlap, I'm going to set this to be false. Like so. So now when I play the game, I'm outside of it, nothing happens. Step inside, I can say hello. When I step outside again, nothing happens. Great, we got the first part mostly working. So this is actually pretty similar to how I set up my game in my passcode system in here. So you'll see that I have, well, I had a can start here. I kind of took it off because my can start is tied into a whole nother system that you don't need to worry about. But what I did is when I initialized the code for my game, I have a can start, and if that's true, then I also go and check and see if I'm using a 6 code input or an 8 code input. This doesn't really apply for you guys. You don't have to do this, but I'll show you guys how I did it anyway. But what you need to know is the first part of this can start, we just did that and our code now works the way it works in mine. So what we're going to do next, and I'm actually going to select this stuff, make a comment, and just say initialize passcode not input, and I'm just going to drag that to the side like so. Cool, that works. Now let's start working on the visuals. So for visuals, I'm going to leave this print string here because I just always want to make sure that it's working. So what I want to do is I want to make this a little bit more visual. To do that, what I do is, let's first get a text. Simple text render. And let's bring it right up here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'll make it about 32. Make sure we can see it properly. And I'm also going to horizontal alignment center. Just because I kind of like it like that. There's no real rhyme or reason for that. Ooh, there we go. Cool. Alright. So right now I have, when I press the 1 key, it's true, it prints hello to the screen or to the console. But now what I want to do is I want to actually make it say hello on the text render. To do that, I'm going to actually just drag this text out. And I'm just going to do set text. And just going to set the text like so. And I want the value to be equal to the value of this key here. And so what I can do is I can actually drag out here, and I want to get this key information and also plug it into here, but it doesn't allow me to do it easily. So what I'll do is I'm going to actually make this a variable. So I'm going to drag it off here, let go, and promote the variable. And I'm going to call this variable key code. And compile. And now when I compile, I see the number 1 here. I can drag this out and get that, and it doesn't convert, but that's okay because I can do type in string. No, what did I type in? I'm going to check right over here very quickly to remember what I type in. Get key display name. There we go. This is get key display name, and basically what converts the key code, like number, letter, whatever, into a normal text like that. So there we go. And now when I compile and save, let's test it out. So you can kind of see the text here. I should have made it darker. But when I press the 1 key, it says 1 now. Perfect. So let's go clean this up a little bit. I'm going to make this text 0 initially. And I'm actually going to change the color of the text to be darker and bluer. Yeah, that should be fine. And hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier to see inside of the game. Compile, let's play. And now it's looking a little bit more like how we want it to look. Cool. Alright. So right there, this is the main gist of what the code does. For everything from here on out, it's just going to be like optimization and making it more user friendly for both from a coding standpoint and also from an art standpoint. When I make my blueprints, I like to make them so that I can just make them once, drag it in, and I can adjust everything inside the editor instead of adjusting it inside code. Going back and forth in between the code and changing the into the editor gets very old very quickly, especially when you're on a deadline. So first things first, let's make it so that I can change this key code in the editor without having to actually go into the code. To do that is very simple. All you do is you click on your key code on your variable, go right up here, instant editable, you click here, and you're good to go. So now when I'm in the game, I can click on this object here, and now under default, I can change the key code to be whatever I want it to be. Make it 2, whatever. So that's great. Now I go back into the code. Now the second thing I want to do is something that I actually just recently kind of figured out. Is not figured out, but came up with a solution for. So one thing you'll notice is when you're doing this key code is it works well for the number pad right on top of the keyboard. So all the keys right below the function keys, it works well for that. But when you start getting into using the number pad, if you guys have a number pad, you notice that it won't work. So let me go in here, and I'm going to actually set my key to be, it's set to be 2 right now. So when I go here and press 2, the number 2 will be displayed. But if I were to restart this and press the number 2 on my number pad, it will do nothing. And I'll also show you if I were to change this to be the number 2 for num2 on numpad, which stands for numpad, and I press the number 2 here, it says number 2 like that. Now when I was initially making this code originally, I noticed that issue, and I didn't exactly like the fact that it said num2 on it. So I just kind of left it as you just use the keyboard to input the code. But a simpler way to do this is you can actually go into the code, and this mainly only applies for if you're doing a number code input. But what you can do is you can actually, we're going to copy this, and we're going to check if you press the normal key or if you press an alternate key. So I'm going to make a variable, promote. I'm going to make this alt key, like this, and then under the conditional, now we want it to be if it's the first key or the second key, or you could do and or the second key. You're going to make that true. If one of those is true, then it will do the rest. So to do this, I'm just going to drag off on the red event node, and I'm going to do and or. Just do or. There you go. So if one of those two is pressed, then it'll display the text. But one key thing you have to keep in mind is this alternate key we're never actually gonna display that, get that display name. We'll only get the display name with the first key. So that key is always going to be tied into this. So I'm gonna compile that, and I'm gonna first I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna make sure that this is instance editable, so I can adjust it inside the game. And then in the game, I'm going to make this first one the number 2, because that's the key that we want it to be. And the second one, numpad 2. So now, if I go here and I press the numpad 2 button, it'll still display the normal 2. That's a little bit of optimization to make your life a little bit easier. You have to input the key technically 2 times, but it'll make your life and the life of anyone who plays the game a lot easier.